Hello, friendly patrons. Welcome to your latest episode of Star Trek Picard. I'm here with Clay. I didn't have a little joke intro. Clay, how are you?
I'm good. This is a very special episode in our season. Do you want to know why, Wes? Can you guess why that is?
No, I don't even have a guess, really.
It's the episode where they show us they've officially run out of story.
Oh, yeah. It's an annual tradition. It's like Christmas.
Yes.
It comes reliably around, what are we on, episode 7? It's episode 7.
Episode 7.
They pushed it a little bit, I think. Episode 7, fittingly. You know what's weird about this episode? I was looking at the memory alpha before this came, before we started recording. I don't think I could have even remembered that Worf and Raffi are not in this episode at all.
Yeah, yes. They get like a passing mention.
Where are they?
They're off doing something. I don't know. This episode is...
They didn't leave at the end of the last episode, though, right? I went back to the memory alpha.
No.
And the last mention of them is that Worf says something. And then that's it. Like, that's the last time you see him in the last episode. Yes.
I would say this episode is poorly written.
Oh, okay. Okay. We're no experts, but let's get to Dominion, the 7th episode of the 3rd season of Star Trek Picard. March 30th, 2023 is when it came out. Written by Jane Meggs, as Cy Tulliver would say. Directed by Deb Kampmeyer, as Bill Burr would say. In-universe date 2401 and 2370s. Unknown specifically. And this one called Dominion, Crippled, Cornered, and Out of Options. Picard stages a gambit to trap Vadic and reveal her true motive, a gamble that puts the Titan in the crosshairs and forces Picard and Beverly to question every moral code they've ever held.
Every one of them in question. When she pulled out that list and they started at A.
Yeah.
For the advancement of...
They asked ChatGPT to list every single moral code they've ever held, and it did. It did. Did. It's a small universe, you know. There's just only so much you could do. So, I think we talked about this in a Deadwood episode, Somewhat Strangely, which is not going to be out for like a month or so. But one of Darren Mooney's reviews for one of these episodes was talking about that in his opinion, which I think is a good opinion, is that this show in particular has a hard time deciding if it wants to be like a genre Star Trek show or if it wants to be a prestige television show, and it like sits awkwardly in the middle of them. And I thought this episode was a really good example of what that is, just because like the scene the scene where Vadic reveals like what her torture was, and it's like it's this emotional turmoil of like hating the humans, and you're trying to dig deep for some sort of like hatred runs through forever and you're never going to stop it, and how can we treat each other, these real prestige themes of what's allegedly what they're trying to get at with sort of prestige themes about what characters would be feeling. And it's intercut with like a montage of a doctor like stun gunning a change.
That was the Starfleet doctor stun gunning a pile of goop might be the most ridiculous thing they've done in the new Star Trek. That includes bringing back Picard as a landfill type second character.
That much. She's like chipping pieces away from one of the little blocks of goo, and then she's stun gunning. She takes a blowtorch.
And I mean, to be fair,
it's so unscientific. It's just like absurd what she's doing to it.
It reminded me of when they show the footage of the guy who tests the blood splatter for the prosecution in the staircase.
Yeah.
When he's just like smashing stuff and going like, yeah, I mean that kind of looks like a head explosion. I mean, it could have been this.
Could have been.
But like,
it's the backswing of her blowtorch as the changeling blood is on the ceiling.
Yeah, they should have seen how changelings react to owl talons. But I mean, she pulled out what had to have been a 300-year-old stun gun.
She certainly did, in the words of Tarantino, went medieval on their asses for seemingly no reason whatsoever. But
yeah, yep. This is a very, man,
Are there
6
7
episodes.
changelings? Are there only 7 changelings on her ship? Is that the point of what she's saying?
I guess. I mean, I guess she has a crew of
I don't know, limited
because,
number, right? There can't be any more changelings.
Well, no, there can be, because she says that anybody who wants to be special, all they have to do is like get some of her goop or something, and then they become special changelings. So, right?
I don't remember that.
I think that's what listen, there's a lot of dialogue in this episode that is delivered by standing people at standing people.
Yeah. Yeah.
In a very uninteresting cinematic way.
Yeah. Yeah. So you didn't like this one? It was the shortest episode by far of the season. It was about 10 minutes short.
I found myself thinking, I understand now why they gave the advanced reviews the first 6.
Yeah.
Because this one, like, while it advances and kind of gives answers to some stuff, it is done in the most mind-numbing way, where it's literally just people standing around talking. Like when they capture Vadic, and then she just talks for 10 minutes about her backstory and where she came from. I was like, what the fuck is good? And they keep doing like these reaction shots to Picard and Crusher, who are just standing there having to decide how they're going to react, because they can't do anything else other than like squint their eyes at and kind of like tick their head from time to time.
Yeah.
It's just the worst kind of exposition.
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't disagree. I didn't think this was a very good episode. I think it seems at this point to be universally considered to be one of the worst episodes of the season.
They don't even check in on Riker either. Like
no,
Raffi
it's only
and
Changeling.
Worf are gone.
Yeah, only Changeling.
You see,
Riker.
Changeling Riker. You don't see anything that's going on with him. We
got Tuvok though, which is fun.
That was fun. Tim Russ having a big year. He was also in Poker Face, which he was good in that. Yeah,
good.
I'm still they as they say in True Romance, this episode was giving me nothing but telling me everything. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because
I don't even think it tells much. Like I can't say that I've I just don't think it. I guess it did move the plot forward somewhat, but it's not nearly anything that is. It hasn't changed. It hasn't really changed anything. You just know why Vadic is the way that she is, which is
they're trying to do a lot of heavy lifting with this dialogue in this episode. Like when you get into the Vadic stuff, the first thing that Picard says is, "Well, we gave you that cure," and then she just tosses off this thing where it's like Starfleet decided not to do it, so one of the changelings had to steal it and bring it to us. And like,
is that how that happened? I don't remember that.
Yeah, that's what she says. And I didn't know if that is that something that happens in the show is she talking about Odo there?
I thought she must have been, but I don't remember. Odo doesn't do that. Odo doesn't steal the cure. He tells the female changeling that they have the cure, and that's why he'll go back to the link with them to end the war.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was, I assume she was talking about Odo, but it was like it's one of those things where, the show just doesn't really seem to know what it's talking about in terms of like its own internal logic and what came before it, where, are they trying to position Vadic as if because they have these bizarre conversations where Vadic is trying to say like the Federation was just as bad as the Dominion in the Dominion War, and I don't know where that's coming from. Like
what's the line she has where it's like we conducted war, but you committed violence or something like that. She's
like, you committed violence and we committed like proper warfare or something like that. But it's like the changelings were preemptively. Their whole thing was they would preemptively take out threats that they thought would come to them. So they would aggressively react to people that they interacted with. And it's just, I don't know if they just don't know if there's anything else that she can talk about really, but this idea that you're going to try to It's their endless sort of like fascination with just making sure that the Starfleet is basically the worst thing that's ever happened in the galaxy.
Yeah. Like we had talked about in the last episode how it would be interesting if the thing was that Starfleet didn't give them the cure, and that was just, you get into like this idea of once you drop the atomic bomb, that's not like, you have to do something to, you have to put the Marshall Plan into effect.
Yeah, sure. The fallout. Is that what it was? Yeah. Marshall Plan was just Europe rebuilding, but
whatever. I'm thinking of MacArthur. MacArthur, he was over there for forever, like helping to rebuild Japan or whatever. But like you can't just drop the bomb and walk away. So what happens if you drop the bomb and walk away? Because sometimes that does happen, and you don't think that you've done anything wrong, but the people who are affected by this have a very different view of that. They can't just do that, though. It has to be, you captured us and you tortured us like Joseph Mengele or something.
yeah.
And it's
right. It has to be more. Has to be more personal and sort of like emotional, I guess. Like, it can't just be a policy decision that results in suffering. It has to be someone actually tortured you.
Yeah, because I mean, there's an argument, isn't there, that the end of the Dominion War just proves the changelings right, kinda.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, is that not enough to radicalize them to strike back, even if it takes them 30 years to do it?
Right. Yeah. No, I would agree. I guess they're kind of hemmed because it seems like plot-wise they don't want there to be too many changelings, right? So it can't be that the wormhole is opened again and they're all just coming through. So,
but at the same time, they've infiltrated every sector of Starfleet,
taken over
the USS Intrepid is full of them. So I don't know how many there are.
That's your? I guess that backs up your point, is that she can infect, but she hasn't infected anybody on screen, right?
No.
So we haven't seen this happen, unless Jack is the changeling.
He seems to be connected somehow, because I just keep drawing that shit out. Oh boy, when they finally reveal what's going on there, I can't wait for the pin to drop when people don't give a shit.
The record screeches to a halt. Yeah, I didn't like this episode either. Although I'm actually kind of the opinion that it's more in line. It's kind of in line with the season, I think. I just, I've never thought that this season was going to be about anything, and it's not going to be about anything. I'm sort of, I always come to this point and I'm always like, it's the bamboozling that interests me the most, where like, I feel like I almost, I began to question my own opinions just because I was like, am I just cowing to the fact that people seem a little bit more positive on this season? So like, am I wrong? Am I the baddies, basically? So I was mostly just sort of reconsidering, like, did I never really think that this season was any good? And I'm just kind of like feeling insecure because everyone else thinks that it's much better than the other two, which it kind of is, but I still think it sucks. So like, I don't know. I feel that this episode was everything that I've sort of been feeling that it is going to turn into a regular modern Trek season. I feel like this was the turning point episode where it's becoming obvious that it is just another modern Star Trek season. Yeah. They did a better job of holding on to the ball for 6 episodes, I think. Yeah.
We can all look back fondly on the first 4 and feel like they kind of nailed it, but
unfortunately 6 episodes later.
Yeah, I just go back to what I said at the beginning, where it's what I came away from in this episode was just they've got no story left, because the only thing that they've got in front of them right now is Frontier Day.
Yes.
And what, the climax everyone's dying to see.
The Starfleet parade.
When Commissioner Gordon marches every single cop in Gotham City into the tunnels before Bane blows it up.
I like even the ridiculous, Picard's like, any sort of official event, I'm DNA testing. As a Starfleet admiral, they DNA test me for every event. It's like, God damn it, what the fuck?
And then they're like, what if they're using Jack's blood and your corpse to make a third thing? And then it's like, well, but Jack might not be your son. There's like other shenanigans going on there. So I don't know what is true
it even
at this point. And Jack has mind powers now.
Yeah, he does. He's a telepath.
He can
Although he
can
only
project his brain into someone else's brain and teach him karate.
Yes. Well, he's extremely good at flirting, and he would win Dancing with the Stars because him and his partner would be completely in sync with each other, and there wouldn't be any sort of like outside the box thinking.
When they gave him mind powers, I almost walked out of the room, man. Woof.
What's the the effect when women aren't in a movie except to talk about men? What's that thing called?
Oh, it doesn't pass the Bechdel test.
Yeah, the Bechdel. Daughter LaForge fell off the Bechdel scale, I think. Or just her thoughts are like, he's so dreamy. I wish he would touch my hand. Touching the hand, I don't think that would work.
Well, I thought that they were trying to do a fake out or something because in her mind she says, why doesn't she be subtle and like touch my hand? And then he does that and she's like, why the fuck did you just touch my hand? So I thought that they were women. They were doing playing hard to get, I see. It looks like I'm going to have to take matters into my own hands and project my mind into yours.
Yeah, I mean, he made it a little bit, he sort of smoothed that over by uncomfortably just staring at her until she left the terminal.
Yeah. But like, I thought they were going to do I thought they were doing a bit of a thing there where it's like, oh, well, whatever is talking to him is not feeding him true information. Like it's fucking with him.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But then later on, he reads her mind and seems to be reading it correctly, and then projects himself into. I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on with this shit.
Yeah, the telepathy of Jack is something. I mean, it is. It's the 11th hour reveal of this additional information because they just don't have anywhere to go with it. But I'm interested to see what Frontier Day looks like because they're acting as though it's going to be in one room, right? Like, what does blood testing an admiral who's on a random starship mean?
I don't know. Like, I have to imagine it's got to be like, it's got to be on Earth or something, right? Are they not going to?
I thought it was
supposed to give a speech, so I assume that he's going to be at like Starfleet headquarters in the amphitheater or something, where they do the end of Star Trek 6.
Yeah, because the vibes I'm getting are that they keep talking about how every ship in the fleet is going to be there. So I just imagine he's going to, with the way the budget of the show works, I would imagine that he is going to just sort of like over the comm system talk to all the other ships at some point.
Maybe
Frontier Day is an idiotic idea, anyways, and maybe we don't need to stick with that.
There's no way that this is not going to be silly.
This Janeway talked about Frontier Day. Yeah, it's Janeway.
Like everything they talk about this in this episode, I think what this episode is really kind of highlighting with how verbose everybody is about things is that they are really doing everything they can to make you give a shit about any of this, and it's really tough to, because the stuff they're trying to make you give a shit about, you don't have any connection to.
Yeah,
it's like it's another version of the same problem a lot of these new shows had, that Discovery had, et cetera, where it's like you're trying to make us care about something, but you're not showing us why or even what it is.
Right.
You can't do a mirror episode if you don't show the mirror of people.
Right.
It's that kind of thing where it's like they're talking about Frontier Day. What the fuck is Frontier Day?
Right.
Why do we care? All we know is he's going to give a speech, and someone's going to like Weekend at Bernie's his body into I don't know,
bombing position.
Yeah, into saying they can have Cuban cigars now or something. I don't know.
Yeah, Romulan ale for all. Yeah, no, it's that's a hallmark of modern Trek, right? It's just like it just thinks that saying it is enough. It's like, if I say it, you should feel something.
Like, it's these things, they position these things, but they don't connect them to the characters in any meaningful way, you know?
Yeah.
And so, like, if we had a better idea of how Picard is connected how whatever is going to happen at Frontier Day matters to any of the characters we've been following for 7 episodes. Maybe it would be easier to care about it, but like they keep doing the thing where they just keep adding stuff onto it that sounds like it should be impressive. Every single ship in the fleet is going to be there.
Yeah,
they stole your body. I'm supposed to give a speech. Yeah, what?
Yeah.
About what? Who gives a shit?
right.
Like you're not. Are you? Is your speech about? Have you written the speech? Is the speech about like opening trade talks with the Romulans again or something, and that somehow is politically disadvantageous to the changelings and the like? There's no idea. Like there's nothing to grasp onto to understand why this is anything other than they're gonna attack.
Right.
Cool.
I mean, it's the Frontier Day is just a good sort of example of what the show is. The Frontier Day seems to be just a celebration of Starfleet. Like it seems to be, I don't know if it's an anniversary of founding the Federation or something like that. I don't know if they've said what it is, but it's the same.
No, they haven't.
It's the same. Well, I mean, Frontier Day is such a weird
It's like
name.
saying we're going to regionals.
Yeah, maybe. So I guess it depends on what the event is. It's the. I mean, in some ways, that's just what the new shows are, right? It's just like like a celebration of itself. So the day of the holiday that they celebrate in this universe is just kind of a celebration of Starfleet. So that's all you need to know. It doesn't. It's just the scale of it seems off. Like I can't imagine how in this universe doing anything at Frontier Day is a devastating blow to the Federation. As I understand the Federation to be. Like the Federation is too big. What could possibly happen? I don't know. It's weird.
I don't know. And I mean, they've already the first thing that happened in the episode in the series is they portal gunned an entire building away and dropped it onto a major metropolitan city.
Well, that was just a distraction too. That wasn't even they didn't even like
I know, from what? How's the body retrieval going over there? Is there more than 100 people who are dead now?
We miscounted severely. Yeah, I mean, I guess they're not even. That's the. I mean, that's the like the. I guess that I mean she stole the Titan because I think they have to get to the middle of the fleet for Frontier Day, so they can't show up in the Shrike or whatever and do stuff.
Right.
But man, what a like even that writing there is just like the Shrike is positioned as this like ultimate warship, and they're just like, nah, fuck it, we'll just leave it behind and we'll take the Titan over there. Yeah. So the other my second favorite moment from this, I don't know what my first one was, but my second was Geordi crying talking to Data.
Mm-hmm.
It reminded me of the scene in Deadwood where Bullock confronts McCall, who's tied up in the freezer thing. He's like, "What are you crying for?" He put his cock in your ass. That's all I was thinking with that. It's just like, Geordi, you need to pull your shit together here. You're losing it, my friend. And
I
didn't
was
ultimately
trying to
amount to anything.
Yeah, I was trying to track that monologue where he says, Data put me back together and then he broke me.
Yeah.
And then I learned to put myself, I don't know. It was a bunch of just emotional nonsense. God love LeVar Burton for trying to act his ass.
He's trying.
Off.
He is trying. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not becoming of the character, and it's not becoming of the material. Yeah, but they even mentioned in the episode, they're like, we were joking the last time about like Data's died like 1,000 times so far. In this one, they're just like, Data's died before, and I just can't go through it again.
Right. Yeah.
It's terrible.
And there's also like this thing too where we live in the 21st century. We understand how computer files work and programs work for the most.
Mm-hmm. When I click on, they open.
Yeah, my Alexa just fired up when I said the magic
Alexa.
word. But why? How does Sung, on whatever planet he was on, have access to the files for B4 data and lore in a way that would put? I guess what I'm trying to say is like,
It must be all at Daystrom, right?
I guess.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is like, are these the original copies, or did they duplicate them?
Oh.
And where does the timeline stop? Like, for instance, Data, when Data powers up,
Yeah.
does Data know that? Is Data aware of everything that happened in season 1, or is this a Data that is a older file?
See. Doesn't Data in this episode talk about Nemesis as a memory?
Oh, is that what he does?
I think he does.
Because it would make sense because he does like download himself onto a drive in that, right? Then
Or
they plug
B4.
it into
He puts
B4.
himself into B4. Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know where the Data. Now I'm like in a hate. Do we ever see Data in season 1? I know we see him, but is it real Data? Isn't it just a mental thing?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, I think it's just Picard's memory of Data, because he's in like that dream world when he dies or something, right?
Yeah, but that is actually Data dying.
How is it Data? How is it Data? I can't remember where they are.
That's the thing. I can't remember, but I think that's part of the deal is that Data, he dies in the first season, like more so than he does in Nemesis somehow. But I can't remember what they do.
How do you feel about the Data body in this show, like what they've done with Data?
So I thought the best stuff in this episode was Spiner ping-ponging between personalities.
Yeah.
I thought it was really fun. I thought he was really good at it. The first time he does it, when he's like mid-sentence clicks into lore, was really good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't understand why they're using him the way they are at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Like, they've got him plugged into the ship.
Yeah, I like how he walks around with the tube stuck in the back of his head.
Yeah.
He's just walking around in the room.
and like I feel like it's on paper it's really fun.
Yeah.
But lore coming back and taking over the ship feels like it should be a bigger deal.
Yes.
And it's just kind of business here.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like, I guess bigger. When I say bigger deal, I mean it feels like it should be a larger part of the plot of the overall story of the series. Yeah, and well, it just kind of feels like something that happens.
Yeah,
incidentally.
It's an incidental thing to get in the way, and it's overcome pretty easily too, just by Data snaps back into control and takes it over. I feel it. I feel it's sort of. I don't think it improves anything, really, is sort of the way that I look at it. Like, I like seeing Spiner do the performances, but it sort of feels like it's like insulting, or not, like it's sort of degrading to Data in some way. It could, because Data's clearly not the personality that's in control for most of it. It seems like lore is so dominant. It's I guess my sense is that it doesn't feel like Data has actually come back in any way. It feels like it's just a sort of artificial performance of Data instead of the character being there. And it's tough to portray, but it brings out the larger point of, I'm not sure why this is necessary at all, other than just to have Data in the final appearance of this cast. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I mean, because it's fun to watch him ping pong, but I keep waiting for here's Data. Data is back. Data is part of the team. And then he's like, no, I'm not Data, you morons. I'm lore. Like that thing, where it's been a longer con kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is, I think, why what they're doing here feels so kind of tacked on, because there doesn't seem to be any. I mean, I could be wrong. We might get a big revelation about Data's involvement next episode, but it just all feels like lore is also there. So let's have him be a nuisance.
Yes.
That is completely just separate from, and also, like, if we had started the season with Geordi having some sort of unfinished business emotionally with Data, this stuff might land better, but they both just showed up last episode. Yeah. And so we don't know really where he stands with anything, and so the relation, him trying to reconcile or deal with his friend who's in this horrible place isn't really landing.
None of this works. The show isn't built for this kind of emotional stuff. You know, these characters were never like this. And I've complained about it in the last couple. It's just when you try to do this very melodramatic storytelling with a cast of characters who were like the antithesis of melodramatic, it's just not, it doesn't ring true. It's not the relationship that they had. It's not a, Geordi and Data are certainly friends, but like the friend relationship is not one where they're talking about being like broken in half and reassembled, and like every day that I haven't seen you has been like a knife in the heart. It's just too much, and it's just silly. I don't know. I still wonder where the order for the melodrama comes from, because it's on all the shows. It must be a very high level decision that this is what we're going to do, because none of the shows are immune to it. And I watched it with Amy, who hasn't watched any of the Picard, and she was mostly just like aghast at the show. And she was one of the reasons where I was wondering, like, maybe I'm just not being hard enough on it, because her take was just like, this is terrible. Like, why is it so melodramatic? And what are people talking about?
She was just wondering if Beverly Crusher was Geordi's wife and the mother of his two children.
That's right. She did watch that one episode before this, and determined that Beverly Crusher was a black woman, which, at least from that photo, she does appear to be. So yeah, I mean, it's an incredibly short episode. We don't learn anything about Jack. I guess
we heard some stuff about Jack.
Yeah, I mean, we learned incredibly uninteresting things about Jack. Do you think? I don't know. What's your sense on the like the changeling involvement, and trying to isolate how to talk about this? Like, how's the show doing in terms of bringing back stuff as opposed to creating a new problem to solve? Does that make any sense? Like, the changelings are a part of that, and the prior relationships and data and lore and everything like that are they just not hitting the amount of nostalgia that you'd want to hit with a brand new adventure? Or should they just focus on the nostalgia if that's all that they want to do? Or I'm sort of surprised that, like, I'm sort of surprised by how small things feel. And
yeah,
like, Nemesis is not a good movie, but Nemesis felt like kind of epic in some ways. Like, I felt like there were stakes. And I don't know if maybe the TV show, it's harder to get to the stakes more consistently, or like more concisely. But I just feel that nothing here really matters. It's kind of just like bumbling around in empty space, and the characters talk to each other, and nothing feels particularly important, and nothing feels like it's well constructed, and not just bringing back a random character or a random reference that you want to talk about. It just feels kind of empty.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's excuse me, it's a continuing problem of these shows, which the reason that the movies never feel like this is because the movies have 2 hours and change to get to the point.
Yeah, probably even less. So Star Trek movies, like an hour and 45 maybe.
Yeah, and so you have to establish your stakes relatively quickly, and why we care, how we get to the point of the climax, and then this thing is just the reason that it's tough to the difference is that they have not really, like I was saying before, they have not really established the stakes.
Yeah.
And like, even the stuff with Jack, I don't know what the actual stakes are, because I don't know what they want with him.
Right, yeah.
Like,
what's gained by getting him is unclear.
Yeah, if what's the goopy floating head guy?
Mm-hmm. He's called the Face, apparently.
The Face? Yeah, cool. If the Face said in one of his communiques there, we must get Jack Crusher so we can tear open his body and study his organs or something. It's like, okay, well, at least we know they're going to kill him,
right.
You know?
Yeah.
At least we know what they want with him on a relatable level, even if it ends up getting more complicated than that. But we just don't. We're 7 episodes in, and it's, you must bring us Jack Crusher.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. He's got laser eyes now. Awesome.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with the Frontier Day stuff. Something might happen.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Three episodes.
The last 25 Frontier Days have been a snore. So I hope Picard makes a crack about Sisko's wife, and Sisko goes up and slaps the shit out of him. Walks out of the Pa-Wraith dimension or wherever the fuck he is, specifically to slap the shit out of Picard.
Oh, Ben Sisko just slapped the shit out of me.
Over a Wolf 359 joke.
Yeah. Well, we can hope. I don't think anything like that'll happen.
They pulled another fast one that actually I felt bad for falling for, because at this point, once Tuvok showed up, I was like, awesome. Okay, this is what they're doing. Let's do it. And so towards the end of that opening scene, when Seven says, basically, get everybody you can find back together and meet me at this station. I'm like, oh yeah, baby, we're getting Kira, we're getting Chakotay, we're getting everybody. Let's do it.
Yeah,
let's do it. And then of course it was all just a ruse. But
yeah, changelings. The changelings are everywhere.
Miles O'Brien flying in on Pegasus to save the day, with Bashir tucked in closely behind him in the saddle. Keiko nowhere to be found.
That would make me happy at that point.
I'm shocked that his daughter has not shown up in any of these in this
Miles'
season particularly.
daughter?
Yeah, I feel like it would be. I mean, they did it with Geordi basically, but I feel like the layup here would be to make Miles's daughter,
Molly
in Starfleet, Molly in Starfleet,
because she actually existed in the show, right? So it's like it's interesting to see her. Yeah.
And he can be pissed off because all his daughter does is talk about how great of an engineer Geordi LaForge was.
And I mean, if the show, I can't even say anymore that the season is about family, because that was really just one episode where the characters talked about family. But, at least the O'Briens had the most interesting family dynamic in the history of the franchise. And it's a shame that they didn't bring them back to just laugh at people and say that we know what real problems are. Yeah, I mean, that's the... I don't know. It's just... I'm scared for the next 3 episodes because I've already run out of things to say about the show, and I don't know where else there is to go about it.
Well, I'm scared because the show has run out of things to say about the show. Apparently, I did have a thought though. In the first or one of the more opening scenes when they're debating the lore and data of it all. Yeah. Picard very quickly is like, can we just isolate and delete lore from Data's brain?
Yeah, he's partitioned.
And Geordi gives him all the reasons why that can't be done, like, technically. Yeah. But the first thing I thought of was like, is this not kind of exactly the opposite of what Measure of a Man is about to a certain extent?
I mean, they should be debating whether it's right to delete lore at all.
Yeah, at least Beverly gives passing lip service to possibly committing genocide.
Well, she's questioning every moral code she's ever had, and that's just one of them. Yeah. Don't commit genocide.
But Picard is just so quickly and right with no hesitations, like, can we just delete the motherfucker? And it's at no point does anybody go like, this is a new entity here. This is like a bundle fly of data. Yeah. We can't. What's this is Tuvix of data.
Yeah, it's a
Tuvix.
It's a door, I guess, or Loda door. Yeah,
Loada 4.
Loda door sounds like a Creedence album or something like that. They don't. I mean, it's just kind of remarkable. I don't know why I yelled there. Sorry, but it's kind of remarkable that there's just not anything to like. There's nothing. None of the scenes are about anything. It's just kind of remarkable. Like the changeling torture scene was probably the pinnacle of that, because you're expecting, after a while of going through the show, you're expecting the changeling to reveal to be you've led us on for 7 episodes. The reveal has to be special at this point about what's gone on. And it's like, not that you need to be blown away by every plot choice, but it's like, it's just such a cliched, like we were tortured by Section 31 type thing. And it's just like, what a weird opinion of the franchise the writers have at this point, where there's like 900 episodes of Star Trek, but apparently only 3 things have ever happened in this universe. And it's like, we're going to talk about the Borg. We're going to talk about the Dominion here. We're going to talk about Section 31. And everything else is kind of irrelevant to that, because those are the only things that have ever happened.
Yeah, it's kind of shocking to me that everybody seems to key into how cool of a concept Section 31 is, but no one seems to key into the reason that it worked, which is because of the environment of Deep Space Nine.
Yes. Yeah.
Where it was put there to specifically test these elements and themes that this show was talking about.
Yeah.
And not just there so you can have Starfleet guys dressed like the Matrix.
Yeah.
And stabbing people and torturing puddles.
Why do you think these shows are so obsessed with fallen institutions? Is this just the time that they're writing the show?
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if that's the case,
it's every single season. It's every season.
If that's the case, that bums me out, because the origin of the entire franchise is positing this governing body, or this gathering of people that is in exact contrast to what is actually happening in the real world. Like Starfleet and the Federation is a positive reflection of humankind, not a one-to-one for everything that's going on in the world. You know, that's why they go back to the 90s in
Voyager,
Deep Space Nine, or Deep Space Nine, and they're like, wow, this place is terrible. Things got really bad. I'm glad that we've managed to work that shit out.
Yeah.
And that's why it doesn't work when you go back to fucking next Wednesday.
Right.
And start pulling that shit. and like, even there, like, it's not, what good is, I know we're falling back into season 2 here, but what good is using your Star Trek characters to make some sort of ham-fisted commentary on the current era by literally sending them there?
Yeah.
And then the solution is to send them back to a future which we learn next season is compromised anyway.
Yeah.
Like, there's
you can't
no
escape it.
Yeah, and the idea that the Federation is inherently corrupt or inherently what's the word I'm looking for? Violent or danger, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
Is just like,
I guess.
Yeah, I understand the urge to want to do that, because if you are looking at these things as a one-to-one, Federation, Starfleet, they are the people in power. There's a lot of unrest currently with the people who are in power, no matter what side of the equation you're on. And so, like, I can understand why you would want to use this larger representative body in this fiction you're writing to be an analogy or a metaphor or whatever you want to call it for what's going on now. But I feel like that's completely the opposite purpose of what the Federation and Starfleet is for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially when you've just got, again, like, the reason it works in Deep Space Nine is because Deep Space Nine is pressure testing all of these things that the Federation is built on. They're doing this stuff, having these darker elements to actively pressure test whether or not this is a good idea, and to have it come out on top. If you're just making everybody a shithead, it kind of defeats the purpose of the whole endeavor.
Well, I think that's the difference, is that, like, there were bad admirals and stuff in the early seasons, but it never felt like the whole structure was rotten around it. Like, it felt like there were just bad actors within a larger framework of things. And these new shows just, like, maybe it's because you don't really ever see Starfleet, but it just seems like everyone they come into contact with is like a corrupt, compromised, evil person who's doing evil all the time. And like, it doesn't highlight itself as this sort of like efficient bureaucracy, which was like the fantasy of like the TNG era. It just comes across as like, maybe space is too big and the Federation can't actually manage itself because there's so much bad stuff going on that no one seems to question or bring up or care about and can't seem to bring to a halt.
Yeah, like in TNG, the most antagonistic that the Federation or Starfleet got for the most part, like 90% of the time, was just red tape.
Yes.
Like it wasn't, you would get your evil admiral from time to time who thought that they were doing the right thing but going about it the wrong way.
Yeah.
But most of the time it was just getting a message from Admiral so-and-so back in San Francisco being like, I don't know, John Luke, we just don't have the resources to support you at that endeavor. Could we circle back to this in a month?
Tensions with the Romulans are high and we can't afford to do what we need to do at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. Ambassador Spock is asking a lot. We're really understaffed right now. Can we possibly talk about this in the third quarter of the year?
It's because I wouldn't I would mind because of how often they do that, but it's just that like it's also not really contrasted with the characters because all the characters are so fucking mopey that it's not like it's the original TNG crew standing up against a insidious element of Starfleet. It's just that everyone is kind of mopey and everyone's sad about things. So it doesn't have that sort of clash of heroes thing going forward even. So I don't know. I just, Lore talks about being arch in this, right? And that's almost the show talking about itself, where the villains are just kind of arch nonsense things. And they're trying to comment on it. I don't know how aware they are of it. It seems like they're more commenting on Lore was that. But like these guys have not created villains that are not arch like Lore. They're just the same thing.
Yeah, I'm really I'm really disappointed in Vadic because I think there was some interesting stuff going on there that all just seems to now just be a smokescreen for whatever this nonsense is. Yeah. And again, hats off to Amanda Plummer. She's doing the best with what she's got. And I think Vadic is a well, for the first half of this episode, I was thinking, okay, Vadic is a bad character, but she's giving a great performance. So she's doing the best with what she has. She's trying to bring something to this character. And then once she had to deliver all that dialogue about torture, I'm like, okay, I can't even compliment the performance at this point because she's just screaming stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just, it really is, as we're getting deeper into this, it's really shining a light on the things that we have been annoyed by in all of the new Star Trek when it comes to mystery for the sake of mystery and all this other kind of shit. Because if you look back and you look at Vadic's first appearance, everything about the way they present her is only there to smokescreen her from being a changeling.
Yes. Yeah.
And now that she's explained who she is, it makes even less sense that all of her buddies look like giant birds.
They haven't explained that, right? Why they?
I don't think they're going to. I think it's just. That's just how they decided to that's
look?
The hat they had them to wear in order so you couldn't see that they were changelings. I don't think it goes farther than that because they're presenting you with a quote unquote new villain with some weird looking new guys who I think also suffer from Klingon torchbearer disease.
Yeah.
As far as their design goes.
What a costume.
Yeah. Man, I'll never forget when we got called out by the guy who designed that shit.
Yeah.
And we were like, sorry, it looks great here. I'm sorry it was on screen for 43 seconds and you couldn't see it. But I'm glad you spent the last 2 months of your life photoshopping this.
He was paid handsomely, but that costume did not last very long. It was not for this. But
but they're just putting things out there for mystery's sake, but the other side of that equation is not anything of consequence. It's the same. I mean, it feels like it's the same thing they're doing with Data and lore. It's like, yeah, it's cool. Oh, cool. It's Data. Wonder what that's going to be about. It's lore. Oh, that's kind of interesting. And then it's just like, he's just fucking with the ship and doesn't really, it's not, it doesn't feel of a piece of everything. It just feels like
there's no
short attention span. Cliffhangers,
TikTok clips,
micro hangers, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, there's no theme to this season, right? This is not about anything. It had family for an episode. Like I just don't, because once they've moved into this Vadic changeling territory, there's no time to talk about family here going forward, right? Like,
there's going to be some sort of discussion about it if Jack turns out to be something other than just the child of Beverly. And
doesn't that undermine everything at that point?
Oh, it depends on how they react, I guess, right? It's
they're going to stare at each other and blink.
You're not my real son, but I've lived with you for 30 years and I raised you, so you're my son as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, from Crusher's point of view. Yeah. Okay.
Also, I was when Vadic was feeding them all that bullshit about Jack not being what they think he is, and they were having that conversation where Beverly and Picard were having that conversation about reassessing their morals or whatever.
Yeah.
I 100% thought that it was going to turn out that Beverly was a changeling or something, because the way she had this look on her face that I was reading as, I am successfully convincing this guy to commit genocide.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was going to be something like, oh, she's trying to talk him into doing something horrible.
Yeah.
Because she's on the bad side. But I mean,
you're overthinking this. Yeah.
I mean, that's what the thing is, though, with these shows. It's like you end up overthinking things because the stuff they're giving you isn't worth thinking about.
No, I know. Yeah. That's the cruelest trick, really, about them. Yeah, I don't think I have too much else to say about it, really. It's just I share the sort of agreement that, like, it's a little bit strange that we've got 3 episodes left to go, and I'm not sure exactly where we can go from here. Mm-hmm. Besides just an action. Frontier Day will be one action episode, and then we'll have a finale, and then that'll be the end of things. But I do feel just a little bit stupid that the show punks me so frequently. And maybe it's just a marker of more of like the quality of other shows that are available to watch, where you're like, clearly these people must have some idea what's going to happen. Like at some point, other shows manage to at least cohesively hold what their story is about. It might not execute it perfectly, but I can get to the end of it and be like, okay, I understand what that was trying to do. These new shows, I'm just like, it's almost playing with your expectations as to how a TV show should act, and then it does the exact opposite, and it's kind of a frustrating, you can't believe that this is what things have turned into. And I don't know if I would say that this show is horrible. It's certainly better, as we've said repeatedly over the first 2 seasons, but like, I think it's just still a terrible show. Like, it's relatively better, and it's just a bad TV show. So there it is. I'm sorry if everyone else on the Discord likes it at this point, but I'm kind of checked out.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I when I found myself rooting for guest stars to show up versus anything that was happening on screen, I was like,
you mean like Chakotay at the secret meeting? Yeah, okay.
I don't even care about Chakotay, but if he shows up, I'm going to be excited. I just want to see Kira. I want to see what Kira's up to.
Yeah. It'll be the same as Ro, though, won't it? You know, it's like it's that lesson about like never meet your heroes or whatever, because you'll just be like, well, this is not exactly what I wanted.
Yeah. She'll just be talking about how she's dating another milquetoast Vadic.
She's pregnant again. Maybe she could at least yell at Worf about being a pacifist or whatever, and just kind of get him to explain that.
What if the linchpin for this whole thing coming together is Harry Kim?
That's ballsy.
Yeah,
it's ballsy, and I'd appreciate it.
And everybody else goes, "Who the fuck is this guy?"
He's still an ensign. He's flying the plane.
Let's get Bakula in here. Is there a way we can get Bakula involved? Maybe a hologram or something?
Yeah. Well, they had him in something, right? They listed his name on some screen at some point. I think they did.
Yeah.
It was a legend of
Frontier Day. You know what Frontier Day could use? A holographic message recorded by Captain Archer from 150,000 years ago, whenever it is.
At the very first Frontier Day. It was just his inaugural address.
When he was a 70-year-old man.
Yep.
What if they fuse Picard's DNA with Kirk's DNA?
Yep.
That they also stole from Daystrom and create the perfect starship captain.
That's fine. I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, why not?
Because at this point, I'm left with existential questions about like the more they talk about whether Picard is a robot or not, the more I'm just like, what is this? Like,
yeah.
Is he a man? Is he not a man? I don't even know anymore because the show can't seem to reconcile what it is. So
I'll say on the positive side, if you want to call it that, I am coming away from this episode deeply fascinated by where it's going as far as how this stuff is going to. None of this stuff is landing with me emotionally or like narratively, but just the stuff that they are pulling out at this point, I am very interested to see what they're going to do. Because stealing Picard's body, talking about some sort of DNA hybrid, Jack knows mind telepathy, kung fu transference. I don't know. I'm just curious to see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm getting big throw all the ingredients into the cauldron and cast a spell vibes, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Let's do it. This is it. We got 3 episodes left, and then this entire generation of Star Trek is gone forever. So we may as well just throw all the shit at the fan at once.
I'm looking at the Nemesis poster right now, and it's the tagline is "The Generation's Final Journey," which makes me sad. So what's kind of even unfun about it is that I can't even ask you to guess what's going to happen because they just don't like we've been guessing for 7 episodes and they just don't give us any information. But I'm similarly unsure of where it could possibly go from here. So I guess we're just gonna have to figure it out when we get there.
Yeah.
That's it.
I think they just should have, after those first 4 episodes, they just should have played All Good Things every week for 6 weeks. It's such a perfect ending, you know?
Yeah, it is. It is. This is not. So, any final thoughts, or are we done here?
I think we're done.
We're done. Next episode is called Surrender. The
Cheap Trick episode.
Yeah, so we'll see where that ends up. Until then. And then do we have the next couple episodes? Excuse me. No, we don't. So that's it. So we got 3. We got Picard. And
I knew we were in for trouble this week when we watched, after last week's episode, we watched the scene that they had put out for the season.
Oh, yeah, because they don't tag
teaser.
them to the end of the episodes anymore. You have to look them up.
And it was that awful dialogue scene with the face with the face changeling where he's like, your genetic makeup does not allow for that sort of protein to be added to your DNA strain unless protected by fluorescent light.
You are malleable. So he's not a changeling, right?
What is he?
Well, because he says your kind.
Well, I mean, he could be speaking derisively.
About,
is that the word I'm looking for?
About like shitty changelings, like the changelings that have become what they are now.
The evolved changelings are looked down upon or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how they're going to tie that together. If it is a changeling, they'll have to explain how Vadic is talking to the changelings in the link at that point, because it seems that that's not the case anymore. But I don't know.
Is that not just what the face is? Just the representation of her talking to the link?
I mean, I guess it could be. I don't know. Why is he? I don't know. It's confusing because she just cut off her hand. Remember when the showrunner spoiled that they were changelings for no reason?
Yeah. That was really weird.
Why? Why do that?
And it happened. They revealed it like 4 days after he tweeted that.
Yeah. Yeah. What a strange show. What a strange thing. All right. Well, we'll be back with Surrender, I guess. If people
I don't
need
think showrunners should never answer questions like that.
No,
they should just
get off
watch
Twitter.
Watch the goddamn show.
That's right. He should just post links to the Paramount Plus page where the episodes are, and just say you can go watch it here.
Watch the show, and then if you want to pay $80 to stand in line and yell at me at a convention, you're welcome to do that.
Welcome to do that. I'll take a picture with you. If people need reminding, Clay and Amanda watch famous horror movies that are about things and have things to say. Mm-hmm. Me and Clay are watching Deadwood, which is a terrific TV show and has things to say. If you're looking for other things, there are other things out there. And
that thing that Deadwood chooses to say very often is the word cocksucker.
That's right. Now, I'm sort of muttering that to my breath under my breath as I'm watching these episodes, but not in the way that is intended. So yeah, check out those shows. Check out everything else, and enjoy the remaining 3 episodes of Star Trek Picard, and then we'll go into Strange New Worlds or something. So Clay, quick power ranking.
Yes,
power rank the new modern Trek shows to go out on a somewhat upbeat note.
Strange New World. No, I'm sorry.
Are you starting
Lower
at the top
Decks,
or the bottom?
Yes,
starting at the top.
Yeah. Lower Decks number 1. Strange New World number 2. It's I guess I would have to say Picard number 3 and Discovery number 4.
Okay.
I mean, am I forgetting a show? I mean, we
haven't seen Prodigy.
People seem to really like that one though.
Yeah, I think that's the only one we haven't seen. Right? There's nothing else that we're missing. No, that's it.
Not yet. Did you see the news that they're doing a
Starfleet Academy?
Starfleet Academy in the 31st century or whatever it's supposed to be.
Oh, it's in the
Discovery
31st
World.
century?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yep. It said. I believe that the thing said Starfleet Academy opens its doors for the first time in 100 years. Or something like that. I mean, it has.
I'd rather that than a prequel, I guess.
Yeah, I would say it has potential just because it's like the cleanest slate they will have had.
Yes.
In the last 6 years of doing this franchise.
Yeah.
But if it's the same people involved, it's going to be the same shit.
Kurtzman's the showrunner or executive.
It's going to be a bunch of cadets realizing that Starfleet isn't what they thought it was going to be, and one of their teachers is going to be a secret Romulan or something. And
it's basically the Harry Potter plot, right? Like they'll be in their school, and the evil wizards will be in control of things, and then that'll be it.
I mean, sometimes it works. Worked on Wednesday. Wednesday was good.
The the Addams thing?
No, specifically 2 days ago, it worked really well. No, yes, the Addams Family one. Yes,
this is too much Star Trek. I mean, it could. I mean, this is at a certain point, Clay, we're going to have to be realists and say the show's going to suck, and we don't have to watch it. It's just going to be a bad show. That's it. Thanks everybody for listening. Surrender yourselves to another month of Paramount Plus fees, as we will. Thanks so much for listening. Let us know what you thought by joining the Discord and talking about it there. And otherwise, we'll see you next week with Surrender. See ya.